Welcome back to the Deep End. We are diving into a topic today that I think sits right at the very center of the human experience, but it's something we usually, just run on autopilot.
Right.
We are talking about how we build a human being. Specifically, we're looking at the systems we use to educate children, and we're asking a very, very uncomfortable question. Are those systems actually doing what we think they're doing?
It is a question that once you ask it, you can't really unask it.
No, you can't.
It completely changes how you look at every school bus, every classroom, every homework assignment.
We are back with episode 23 of our Building a Human series. And before we really get into the heavy lifting, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the partners who make this kind of, deep, specific analysis possible.
Of course.
We're exploring this material thanks to the Almahaba Foundation. Their mission is love for all and service to all. And as we get into the social aspects of today's deep dive, you're going to see just how crucial that alignment is.
Absolutely. The philosophy we're about to discuss it's deeply rooted in that very idea of service, not just intellect, but service to others.
And of course, a huge thank you to the Dar el Kalima Publishing House, who are the ones responsible for getting these foundational texts out into the world so we can actually read them and have these conversations.
So important.
So let's look at the source. We are breaking down The New Education. This is a text drawn from Maria Montessori's broader work, The Secret of Childhood.
It's a seminal text, and I think for many people, the name Montessori conjures up these images of, like, quiet preschools or maybe specific wooden toys.
Right, the blocks and the beads.
Exactly. But the New Education isn't about toys. It's a scientific and really a philosophical manifesto about human development itself.
The central provocation in this outline really grabbed me. It's aggressive in the best way possible. The text essentially asks, are we educating children or are we manufacturing robots?
It's the robot versus the human. That's the core conflict. It forces us to define what we actually want the result of, 12 years of schooling to be.
And let's be honest with ourselves here. I think if you really look at the default setting of modern schooling,
Right.
we view education as a transaction.
Oh, absolutely.
It's an industrial process.
Yeah.
I have a child. The child is empty. I send them to a building where a professional opens up their head, pours in a bucket of math, a bucket of grammar, a bucket of history,
Closes the lid.
closes the lid and sends them home. It's exactly like filling a bucket with water.
That is the prevailing metaphor, even if we don't say it out loud.
Yeah.
And Montessori, in this text, identifies that specific model as the root of the failure. She calls it the information dump.
The information dump. It sounds like data management, not child rearing.
It does. And the reason she rejects it so violently is that it creates this fundamental error in how we view the child. The information dump assumes the child is a passive object.
A container.
A container, exactly. It assumes the adult is the active possessor of all truth, and the child is just a receptacle waiting to be filled. But the text argues that this approach actively suppresses what she calls the living spirit.
That's a key phrase in the text, isn't it? The living spirit.
A very key phrase. A child isn't an empty shell waiting for content. A child is a biological, spiritual force that is already trying to grow from the moment they're born. So if you treat a living, growing thing like a passive bucket, you don't just fail to teach it, you actually do damage to it. You crush that internal drive to learn.
You're working against nature, essentially.
You're fighting it.
Okay.
So when we talk about the new education or Tarbiyya al-Jadida, we are not talking about a new curriculum or better textbooks or, more iPads in the classroom. We are talking about a complete philosophical reversal.
Okay, I want to push on that a little bit because I have to play the role of the skeptic here.
Please do.
Civilization depends on transferring knowledge, right? We have thousands of years of history and science and art. If we don't dump that information, if we don't transfer the multiplication tables and the dates of the important wars, how does the next generation learn? Isn't there a fundamental necessity for that transaction?
There is a necessity for knowledge acquisition, absolutely. No one is arguing that children should remain ignorant.
Okay.
But the critique is about how that knowledge is acquired. The method, the old system, the one we're all used to, treats the child's soul as a vessel to be filled by force, by repetition, by drills.
Right. Rote memorization.
Exactly. The new education treats the child as a spirit that must be fed. There's a huge difference between being filled and being fed.
Okay, let's unpack that. Being fed versus being filled.
Yeah.
Because new education implies there is an old education that is fundamentally broken. So if we stop the dump, what replaces it?
And that brings us to really the first major pillar of our discussion today, The entire philosophy of the new education is centered on one single motto. Education must be an aid to life.
An aid to life. That is so different from what you usually hear, like preparation for college or workforce readiness.
It is entirely different. Workforce readiness views the child as a future economic unit,
A future employee.
a cog in a machine. Aid to life views the child as a developing organism that has immediate, profound needs right now, in this moment. And the text asks us to make a critical distinction between teaching, which usually implies lecturing to a group, and assisting.
Okay, walk me through that distinction. What does assisting look like in practice compared to the traditional model that we all know?
Well, let's look at the old system. It is built on a production line mentality. You have 30 children. They are all, say, 7 years old. You put them in rows. You decide that at 9 a.m., everyone is going to learn long division.
Right. The bell rings, it's math time.
Exactly. It does not matter if one child is exhausted from a bad night's sleep, if another is absolutely fascinated by a biology book they just saw, or if a third child isn't developmentally ready for abstract math at all. The factory line moves, so they must move.
The child must fit the school.
The child must fit the school. That's the mantra of the old way.
Right. And if the child doesn't fit, if they wiggle, if they look out the window, if they're slower than the others, we label them. We say they're distracted or difficult or they have a disorder.
Exactly. We view them as defective units on the assembly line. We pathologize their nature. But the new education says, no, that is fundamentally wrong. The environment must fit the child.
So you flip the entire equation.
You flip it on its head. We are not here to force-feed facts. We are here to provide nutrients.
Nutrients. I love that metaphor because it shifts the whole conversation from mechanics to biology, from a factory to a garden.
That is precisely the intention. Think about it with a physical body. You cannot force a body to grow bone if it doesn't have calcium.
Right.
You can't force muscle growth without protein. You can't just, shove a bunch of random things into a body and expect it to be healthy.
No, it has an appetite for what it needs.
It has an appetite and it has specific needs at specific times. The living spirit is the same. It has an appetite for knowledge. It has specific developmental needs at specific moments in its growth.
So the educator isn't the boss of the factory. They are more like a gardener. Or maybe a nutritionist.
A nutritionist is a great way to think about it. The educator's job isn't to force the food down the child's throat. It is to prepare and lay out a beautiful, rich banquet of nutrients and let the living spirit take what it needs to grow.
That sounds beautiful. And philosophically, I'm right there with you. I really am.
Yeah.
But I can hear the exhausted parents and the overworked teachers listening to this right now.
I'm sure.
And they're thinking, okay, that's great poetic language, a banquet of nutrients. But I have a classroom of 30 kids or a house full of toddlers. How in the world do I know what nutrients they need? Do I just guess?
And that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? This is where Montessori moves from pure philosophy to hard science. It isn't about guessing. It's not a free-for-all. It relies on a very specific mechanism: observation.
Observation.
Yeah.
So we stop lecturing and we just start watching.
We become scientists of the spirit. We become detectives of development. The text argues that if you truly observe children without interfering, without imposing your own adult will on them constantly, you will see them enter what Montessori calls sensitive periods.
Sensitive periods. This is a core concept in the text. You mentioned it before. Define that for us.
A sensitive period is a window of time, a transient phase, where the child has an intense, natural, almost irresistible urge to learn a specific skill or concept.
So it's not just a casual interest.
No, it's a compulsion. It's like a spotlight turns on in their brain, illuminating one specific thing and blocking out almost everything else. For example, there is a very powerful sensitive period for order.
Order. You mean like cleaning up their room?
Yeah.
Because I haven't found that sensitive period in my kids yet.
No, it's much deeper than just cleaning. It is a cognitive need for consistency, for knowing where things belong in the world, for patterns. This usually happens in toddlers from about 1 to 3 years old. And we've all seen a parent dealing with a child who is having a total earth-shattering meltdown because their toast was cut into triangles instead of squares.
Oh, absolutely.
Or because their blue cup was put in the wrong place on the table.
The classic irrational toddler meltdown. And usually the parent thinks the kid is just being difficult or, spoiled. trying to control things.
Right. In the old system, or just traditional parenting, we view that as misbehavior. We try to correct it. We say, stop crying, it's just toast, it doesn't matter.
We invalidate their feeling.
We completely invalidate it. But the new education asks us to observe what is really happening here. The child is in a sensitive period for order. Their brain is desperately trying to categorize the world, to make sense of reality, to build a mental framework. They need consistency to feel safe.
So when things change without reason, it's not an annoyance to them.
It's a threat. When the environment is chaotic or when things change unpredictably, it feels to their developing mind like their entire world is collapsing, the foundation is shaking.
So the meltdown isn't defiance, it's distress. They are literally starving for the nutrient of order.
Precisely. And if the educator or parent recognizes this, they don't punish the child, they don't dismiss the feeling, they provide the nutrient.
Wow.
They create an orderly, predictable environment where things have a place. The cup always goes here, the shoes always go here, the routine is consistent. And suddenly, the difficult child becomes calm. They thrive because their internal need is being met.
It really reframes the whole conflict. It's not child versus adult. It's child versus a chaotic environment. The adult is just caught in the middle.
Yes, the adult's job is to fix the environment, not the child. And there are sensitive periods for other things, too. There is a powerful sensitive period for movement, a time when the body needs to coordinate muscles, to balance, to carry things, to refine motor skills.
The toddler who can't stop climbing on everything.
The very same one. Now, contrast the new education with the old system here. In the old system, if a child needs to move, what do we tell them?
Sit down. Sit still. Stop squirming. Pay attention. Eyes front.
Exactly. We fight nature. We actively work against their biology. We say, I don't care that your brain and body are screaming for movement practice right now. It is time for history. We are fighting the life force itself.
But the new education says.
The new education says, if the child needs movement, the education must provide movement. We don't fight that drive. We use it. We give them activities that involve careful, purposeful movement, polishing, carrying water, walking on a line. We harness that energy for their development.
So the static nature of traditional schooling, the sitting still, the rigid schedule, it's actually working directly against the biology of the child. It's not just boring, it's harmful.
It is working against the spirit. It treats the child as an object to be managed, a problem to be contained, not a life to be assisted. And this requires us to completely reframe the role of the teacher.
Yeah, let's talk about the teachers.
Yeah.
Because in this model, they aren't really teachers in the way we usually think of them, are they?
Yeah.
Lecturing from the front of the room.
No, they are not. The text suggests we strip away the title of lecturer. A lecturer stands at the front and broadcasts information out to a passive audience.
The information dump.
The information dump, exactly. In this model, the educator is a life assistant.
The life assistant. That sounds almost humble. It's not master or professor.
It is humble, and it's intentional. Their role is to facilitate self-construction. The child constructs themselves. You cannot grow for the child, just like you cannot digest food for the child.
That's a powerful analogy.
They have to do the work. Your job is to make sure the environment has what they need and to remove obstacles that are in their way. You are observing, guiding, and assisting. You are not the source of knowledge. You are the connector between the child and the knowledge that's all around them.
I can see how that shifts the power dynamic in the classroom completely. The teacher isn't the focal point anymore. And here's where it gets really complicated for people, I think. I feel like there's a trap here,
Yeah.
or at least a deep-seated fear.
I think I know where you are going. The fear of anarchy. The fear of chaos.
Exactly. If we say the environment must fit the child and we follow the child's needs and stop the production line,
Yeah.
doesn't that just lead to chaos? I mean, if I let my kids do whatever they need to do all day, the house would be destroyed in an hour. It would be a free-for-all.
This is the single most common anxiety about the new education. It's the biggest hurdle for parents and traditional educators to overcome. We hear the word freedom and we immediately think free-for-all.
Permissiveness.
Permissiveness, letting kids run wild. But that is a profound misunderstanding of the philosophy. The text is very, very clear on this.
So settle the anxiety. How is this not just chaos in a classroom?
Because the concept is not just freedom, it is freedom within limits.
Freedom within limits. Okay. That's the key phrase. So what are the boundaries? What are the limits?
The boundaries are social and environmental. The child is free to choose their work from the prepared materials. They are free to choose how long they work on it, whether it's 5 minutes or an hour. They are free to move around the room to get what they need.
Okay, that sounds like a lot of freedom.
It is, but, and this is a massive but, the child is not free to disturb others. They are not free to damage the materials. They are not free to be disrespectful to the community.
So your freedom ends where my work begins.
That's a crucial distinction. It is everything. Freedom does not mean I can do whatever I want to you. It means I can do what I need to do for myself as long as I respect your right to do the same.
That sounds like the basis for a functioning civil society.
It's exactly that. This is where the magic happens. This is where we stop building robots and we start building humans.
Let's go back to that robot metaphor from the intro, the robot versus the human.
Hmm.
How does discipline fit into this? Because traditionally, discipline means doing what you're told when you're told, obedience.
Well, think about a robot. How does a robot behave? How does it obey?
It does exactly what it's programmed to do. It waits for input, a command, a button push.
Right. It obeys only when a button is pushed or when a command is entered. That is what we can call external discipline. If the programmer or the teacher or the parent isn't there to push the button, what happens?
The robot does nothing.
Oh, it
Malfunctions.
Yeah.
It's completely dependent on that external command.
So the quiet kid in the traditional classroom who only works when the teacher is standing over their shoulder, that's the robot.
That is the robot. We have successfully trained them to be dependent on orders. Open your book. They open it. Write this down. They write it. Stop. They stop. That is obedience, yes. But is it human development?
Is it building a person? No. The text uses a very strong, very provocative word here. It says, this is the education of a slave.
Wow. A slave. That is heavy.
It is the comparison provided in the source text, and it's used to make a very specific point. A slave, in this context, is someone who is dependent on the orders of a master to function. A robot is dependent on the button. The goal of the new education is to do the opposite, to raise a free citizen.
And a free citizen operates differently, from a different source of motivation.
A free citizen obeys an internal conscience, an internal guide. This is self-discipline. A child in this kind of environment doesn't stop running in the classroom because the teacher yelled at them.
Okay.
They stop running because they have learned through experience and guidance that running might hurt someone or disturb their friend's concentration. They are making a conscious choice based on reality and empathy, not just fear of punishment.
That is a huge leap, moving from I'm behaving because I don't want to get in trouble
Yeah.
to I'm behaving because I understand my impact on the community.
That is the entire journey of maturation. And you cannot learn that internal discipline if you are never given the freedom to practice making choices.
Right, if you're always micromanaged.
If the button is always being pushed for you, if you're told what to do, how to do it, and when to stop, you never develop that internal muscle. You remain a robot, waiting for the next command.
It's risky, though. It requires a tremendous amount of trust in the child to let them make mistakes within those limits.
It requires immense trust in the child, and it requires patience from the adult. But the payoff is a human being who can navigate the world with integrity and purpose without needing a master to tell them what to do. That is the ultimate goal.
This naturally leads us into the bigger picture. Because if we are successfully raising free citizens with internal consciences, we aren't just talking about individual kids in a classroom anymore.
Not at all.
We are talking about the foundation of society.
Precisely. We are talking about planting and nurturing what the text calls the social seed.
The social seed. And I want to connect this back to the Al-Mahaba Foundation's mission, love and service. How does this educational method, which seems so focused on the individual child's needs, on their freedom, how does that translate to service for others? It seems almost paradoxical.
It's a beautiful paradox, isn't it? By focusing so intensely on the authentic needs of the individual, we actually build a stronger, more compassionate community.
How does that work?
The expert view here is that education isn't just about developing the individual intellect. It is about protecting and nurturing the child's natural love for the world and for other people.
Protecting natural love. I like that phrasing. It implies the love is already there. We just have a tendency to squash it.
We do squash it. Think about the competitive traditional school system. We pit children against each other from day one. Who is first in the class? Who is the best? Who got the highest grade?
We rank them.
We rank and sort them. We create rivalry. The child learns to look at their peer not as a collaborator, but as a competitor for a scarce resource, whether it's the teacher's attention or the top score.
And that's not exactly fostering love and service.
It's the opposite. But the new education views the classroom as a mini society.
A mini society.
Yes. A community where children of mixed ages live and work together. And here is how service manifests in that space. It isn't forced sharing. It's not the teacher standing over two kids saying, "Johnny, give the toy to Sally right now because I said so."
Oh, yeah. Or the forced apology. Say you're sorry. I'm sorry. Now say it like you mean it.
Right. That is the police officer approach to social development.
The teacher as police officer.
The teacher acts as the external enforcer of order and, niceness. But that doesn't teach service. It teaches compliance. It teaches the child to resent the other person and to only share when an authority figure is watching.
Like another button push.
It's just another button push for the robot. In the new education, because we have this freedom within limits, a community of mutual aid emerges naturally, organically. Children help each other because they want to.
Give me a concrete example of what that looks like. How does that happen without the teacher orchestrating it?
Okay. Imagine a mixed-age classroom, which is a key feature in this model. You might see a younger child, maybe 3 years old, struggling to button their coat. They're trying, but their fine motor skills aren't quite there yet.
A common sight.
In a traditional setting, a busy teacher might just do it for them to save time, or tell them to hurry up because the line is moving to go outside.
Efficiency over growth.
Exactly. But in this mini society, an older child, maybe 5 years old, sees the struggle. Because they have the freedom to move and interact, they're not locked into their desk, they go over and help the younger child.
They don't just take over.
No, that's the key. They don't just grab it and button it. They'll often show them slowly, assist them, they help. And they do this not because the teacher announced, "Everyone go, be nice to the little kids," but because they possess that internal sense of community. They see a need, and they have the freedom and the desire to fill it. That is the seed of service.
That's powerful because it's authentic. It's not for a gold star. It's from an internal impulse.
It is authentic. And that, again, is the teacher's role here, not as the police officer forcing the sharing, but as the guide. The guide prepares the environment and then steps back to allow these moments of empathy to blossom on their own. They protect those interactions.
So the ultimate goal here isn't just a smart child. We aren't just trying to get them into a good college.
No, that might be a byproduct, but it's not the goal. The goal is a better human. A human who is intellectually capable, yes, but also socially conscious, self-disciplined, and internally free. A human, not a robot.
It really, really makes you rethink what we are doing when we drop our kids off at school in the morning. What is the purpose of this place? Are we sending them to a factory or are we sending them to a garden?
That is the question every parent and every educator needs to ask themselves every single day.
So let's try to bring this home. We've covered a lot of ground today, from philosophy to practical application.
No, we have. It's a big topic.
If we had to distill this for the listener who is thinking about their own kids or maybe their own students, what are the big headlines, the main takeaways?
Okay, I think first, stop the information dump. Just stop it. Stop viewing the child as an empty bucket you need to fill with data. Start seeing them for what they are, living spirits with an internal drive to grow.
See them, don't just manage them. Okay,
Okay.
Second,
Shift the goal. The goal of education is to be an aid to life. We need to stop fighting the child's biology and start observing them, understanding their sensitive periods, and feeding their spirit with the right nutrients at the right time, whether that nutrient is order, movement, language, or something else.
and the third major point.
Third, embrace freedom within limits. We have to have the courage to move away from the robot model, the model of obedience that depends on the button push, and start cultivating the free citizen who has the internal discipline to make good choices for themselves and their community.
It's about building that internal compass.
Building the internal compass, exactly.
And finally, what's the fourth big idea?
We need to cultivate that social seed. We need to stop being the police officer in the classroom, forcing fake apologies and reluctant sharing, and become the guide who prepares and protects an environment where a community of real love and genuine service can grow organically.
From the children themselves.
From the children themselves. That is the roadmap.
It's a compelling vision.
Hmm?
And look, if this sparks something in you, if you're listening to this and thinking, I need to know more, I need to understand how to actually do this, you really need to check out the resources available.
Yes, go to the source. The Dar el Kalima Publishing House has these texts. You can find them at darelkalima.com. That's DARELKALEMA.com. Discover the secrets of the new education for yourself.
Stop filling buckets and start lighting fires. That's really the takeaway for today, isn't it?
That's a perfect way to put it.
And please stay tuned, because in the next deep dive, we're going to take this even further. We're going to discuss the social question of the child, exploring the idea that the child isn't just a future citizen, but the actual key to building a better society right now.
It's a foundational piece of this whole puzzle. It's going to be a fascinating discussion.
Thank you so much for being with us on this journey of building a human. And remember the motto that drives us and our partners at the Al-Mahaba Foundation: love for all and service for everyone.
Love for all, service for everyone.
See you next time.